from that space. Let's go.
All right. Groovy.
You look cold, Nick.
Yes, thank you, Jay. Thank you. Yes, yeah. Before our technical difficulties, I was just saying that hopefully the blankets and stuff like that maybe adds nostalgia to the episodes, but we'll see. I guess.
It's
Only
funny.
time will tell.
Yeah, I'm not really like. I mean, I am blanketed up, but I'm in bed, so I guess that
Do you have a blanket on top of your duvet?
I have 2 blankets and a dressing gown
Cool.
and a hot water
Wow.
bottle. So
Okay.
I'm very toasty.
Crikey.
Very toasty.
Yeah, I need to improve my blanket game, my warmth game. Really.
Yeah.
Are you planning on turning on the heating even when it gets to like minus for
Nope.
like pipes and things?
Nope.
What if pipes freeze though?
I shouldn't do.
Okay.
It's funny because the only heating we ever have on, or have had on in previous years, is just my room.
What, and it heats up the whole house?
Well, no. The whole house is cold anyway. So, because the only heaters in the house is the kitchen, the living room, and my room. And in probably like the last 5 or 6 years, we've only ever really had on the living room on the weekends, and we had my one on all week when it was like super cold.
So like, is that because like the kitchen warms itself up anyway because you're cooking, or like, or the lounge?
Just stays cold, really.
Fair enough. What about your next doors? Does any heat come in through there? Do you reckon?
No, I doubt it.
No. Okay, fair play.
We've got terrible insulation and everything, so.
Oh,
although British houses are built for insulation, naturally anyway, so it's warmer than it would be if we were in America. Let's just say that.
Because of the weather?
No, just because American houses aren't built for insulation. They're built to keep the heat out.
Oh, okay.
Depending on where they live, obviously, like Californian houses tend to
get rid of the heat.
They're all thin walls, really, and no insulation.
Sure. All right, well, Jay, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
very eager.
It's been a good 2 weeks.
It's been an interesting 2 weeks, and I've actually finished a couple of games too, so I'm excited to speak to you about them.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
So, Jay,
yeah.
What is the acronym used to name Quentin Beck's holographic illusion system that Tony Stark uses to relive memories? Bath, thug, junk, or fake?
Say the question again.
What is the acronym used to name Quentin Beck's holographic illusion system that Tony Stark uses to relive memories? Bath, thug, junk, fake.
I want to say fake. Because the other ones don't really sound right. I mean, it could be junk, just because that's very Tony Stark humor. It's either junk or fake. I'm really torn between. I'll go with fake. It's probably junk, though.
Okay. It was bath.
Really?
Yeah.
That's odd.
Apparently.
Okay.
I don't remember that one. But...
That's a niche one. Very niche.
Very niche. Very niche. So, Jay, I'd like to talk to you about a couple of games, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I managed to snap up a couple of games. I've been trying to make more time for gaming. As I told you last time we recorded, I'm getting a little bit more into games, generally speaking. So, just trying to play as much as I can, really, which is barely anything at all.
Yeah, I feel like when you're in the mood, you kind of just have to play. If you don't, then you're wasting time at that point, aren't you?
Because the mood might go, sort of thing.
Yeah, it goes so quickly with games, especially.
100%. So I finished CUPHEAD, The Delicious Last Course. The DLC that obviously took 4 years to come out. Finally finished it, started it. So I said on the podcast, but it's a quick reminder for you. So it came out, and I just thought, I'll just take a look and see how much it is. It was like £6, and I was like, I almost have to buy this to support the value, because that's every DLC should be valued at that for the hours that the DLC is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I think it's also because it obviously taking so long to come out. They were just like, yeah, we need to just make it super low price so lots of people will buy it, kind of thing. Yeah, although I think had they priced this at 20, I think people would have bought it regardless.
No, true. I agree. And then frankly, it's probably worth 20. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was going to be 20 quid, but it was like 6, 7 quid. And I was like, that's unbelievable value. And
Yeah, it's honestly too good, I'd say.
a lot more developers should take note of that, or publishers, either or. Because it was, yeah, I couldn't not buy it. It was that good.
I
So
kind of
anyway,
have a feeling a lot of people who do don't make those decisions probably looked at that and went, "Oh, that's really underpriced."
what is in like, oh, you're losing a lot of money there, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
a hell of a lot. They could have made at least double the money on that easy.
Maybe they didn't need the money. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just weird for a company that tries to suck money out of people to not suck more money out of people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, while we do love game developers and publishers and stuff, a lot of it is just business, right? It's just getting as much money out of it as possible, regardless of morals.
No, yeah, sure. So Jay, so it's the DLC. So there's an extra 5 or 6 bosses. There's also another thing called the King's Gauntlet, which is to do with your perfecting your parries. So
Okay.
that's more. So you don't actually shoot anything in those. That's more about parrying at the right time and stuff like that. You've got Miss Chalice as your new character. She's got a double
Mm,
jump, and her dash is a different button too. So that makes some of the parrying challenges a lot easier.
okay.
So yeah, so there's no run and gun levels, which are just like platforming levels, just bosses, which is kind of cool. I told you, Jay, once I jumped into it that I found it really hard because I haven't played the game in
Yeah, I was
5
gonna
years.
say, yeah, it's kind of like you fell out of the flow of things, right? So you kind of got to get back into it.
So and there is a couple of things in game that help with that. Either new players or players who haven't played in a long time. They've got this new ability where every third, sixth, and ninth, I think, parry, you get an extra life. And also Miss Chalice, I think, has 4 lives anyway. So I think Miss Chalice, they've used her as a different, like a different character to play, but also an ability to hopefully make the game slightly easier. I think.
Okay. So it's like a weird,
Yeah.
yeah, built-in difficulty thing. Okay,
Yeah. But
that's cool.
naturally, I think all the bosses are fantastic. The designs are great as ever. Like it's one of those, Jay, where because they've got the various different stages to them, you can't wait to see what they do next with their imagination and obviously with the art style. It's fantastic. So eventually got past the difficulty barrier, finished it, loved it. There is a story in there too. I mean, I just love every minute. I don't really know what to say.
Have you platinumed it, or is it just you just played through it?
So I never platinumed the original game. I had 100G left,
Yeah.
and I basically you have to finish every boss on expert, and I just it was that Jay, it was that thing, right? Of like I can play this and get expert, and I will hate it in the end,
Yeah,
or I'll just
or
leave
just
it
finish it
now.
now and love it. Yeah, dude, I was
Exactly.
like that. I was like that with Final Fantasy VII Remake
Remake.
because I remember there
Yeah.
was some achievements where you had to do some things on hard, and I was like, either I can do this now and hate it, or I can just leave it and love it. So I was like, fuck it, I don't want to leave this thing on a bad note. I've done that with so many games where I'm just like, no, I just like. I mean, we were even speaking a little while ago about like Prey and Dishonored. Like, I know if I played those games on and tried to get the difficult achievements, I'd hate them by the end of it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really want to do that. So
I find it interesting, Jay. Like, who would have that? Like, who has the motivation to want to do that? You
I
know,
mean,
it's
I've definitely
interesting.
had it. It's just it fleets very quickly,
Yes, yes, it does.
very fleeting.
Would you argue that we had it more younger? Like we put ourselves through more hellish things in terms of games and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think it's because there was not as much options out
Time.
there, right?
Mm.
Like there
Oh,
wasn't.
what in terms of games to
Yeah,
play
that
in
we just
that?
didn't have like hundreds of games. We kind of had like 2 to 6 games that we could choose from. So it's kind of like, well, we either put the time into this or just don't play anything.
True.
So that was, yeah, it was just supply and demand, I guess.
Yeah, true. So the achievements they've added 500 gamer score. I don't know how many achievements they added. I think it was around sort of 11 to 13.
Yeah, it's sort of in the teens,
Um,
I think.
yeah. So I did get a couple.
I
There's some to
saw.
do with beating some bosses with Miss Chalice. There's some for getting an A on every boss in DLC, which I did default. Just saying. So there's that, and there's also one for doing the King's Gauntlet, which is the parry challenges all in one go, without failing one of them. And I
Ooh.
did that on first try. Just saying.
Okay.
Just saying. So I don't think I'm that bad.
No, clearly you have, like, you know,
I'm okay.
the gamer skill, as it were.
It definitely started clicking again after a few,
Bit of muscle
many
memory
deaths
kicking
actually.
in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was great, Jay. I think.
Is there a
and the
future
sound
for Cuphead, or is
Cuphead.
that it now?
Sure.
Because I can definitely foresee a Cuphead 2, 100%.
I just very quickly as well, the music as well was something I checked out after the fact, because it's another, like, I think they composed at least an hour and a half of new music for this DLC. So I checked that out on Spotify because there's some killer tracks in there. Yes, good question, Jay. What's the future for Cuphead? So I definitely think they could do a Cuphead 2. I think the majority of their creative efforts have been to do with the Cuphead Netflix TV show, because I believe there's 2 seasons of that now. So they must have renewed the second. They must have renewed it while they were making the first season, because the second season came out really quick after the first one.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
So I could definitely see a Cuphead 2. My interest here, Jay, is what does Studio MDHR do, which is who made Cuphead, right? Because this is their first and only game and only DLC. They've done a TV show, so they're good at translating into different formats, or at least they assisted with the TV show. Now, my question, Jay, is whatever they do moving forward is going to really define what sort of studio they are, right? So are they going to be more known as an innovative studio where we don't know what's coming next? Or will they become the 20s, 30s cartoon type game developers?
Oh, I see.
Like, maybe
they make a new IP, but it's in the style of Cuphead.
Yeah. Or do they
like
make
that.
a completely different? Maybe do they make a completely different type of game? Like, is it not a 2D platformer with 30s cartoon drawings? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe they make a first-person shit. I don't know. I'm just saying, like what do they make?
Thing. Yeah, it's a good question. I think we should definitely keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
Because to me, it feels like they've just spent the last 5, 7 years just doing Cuphead.
100%. It's a long
time. So either
time.
that, or they've already had something in development, and we're going to hear about it in the next few years.
Well, a lot of people are speculating, Jay. One of the reasons that this DLC took so long was because maybe they are developing something alongside it.
A different game alongside it, 100%. Yeah, they kind of, I mean, that makes a lot of sense if that was the case.
Well, I refuse to believe, even with the TV show, that the whole studio has been working on this DLC for the last 4 years. No way.
Yeah, very unlikely.
So we'll see.
So what is the name of the developers on that? I always forget.
Studio MDHR.
MDHR. What does that stand for?
I think it's Moldenhauer or Moldenhauser, which are the brothers. The brother's second name, who made it. They basically founded the studio. One of the brothers' wife is now one of the leads in the studio too. Maya, I believe her name is. So yeah, 2
Sweet.
brothers.
Well, yeah, I look forward to seeing what comes out of that next, because they hit the ground running, didn't they? Really?
Yeah, and people love this DLC too. So
I guess you could say sort of Cuphead almost had like quite a viral, initial release.
Definitely.
Like I feel like it's sort of as soon as it hit, the news of it being of it coming out, people were like, "Oh, this is like different enough for it to be seen by a lot of people," and a lot of people were interested. I feel like they just sort of like almost like I guess brainstormed what was missing in the game community at the time, and it feels like that fit right in. Like there wasn't anything else that was being made that was like it, so it was very unique.
Definitely, and it had that difficulty as well, which I think helped with its popularity with streamers and tubers and stuff like that.
That is actually, you make a good point there, because a lot of people were playing Dark Souls sort of around that time. A lot of people were playing sort of like these Jump King, sort of like what's that weird game where you're in a pot and you're like swinging the hammer or whatever. It's whatever that game is. Like all these sort of very streamer-esque games. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, really glad I did that and went off for this, so to speak.
Yeah. Another one down.
The next game, Jay, is a game which I got PS Premium Plus, whatever the hell it is, PS Plus Premium, just for the remainder of my time with it. It's Stray.
Yeah.
Cat game.
Another short game.
Short game. I think 5 or 6 hours.
Okay. How long did it actually take you to finish? Probably a lot longer than that, I imagine.
No, I think it was around 6 hours, to be fair.
Okay, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Another game which did go a little bit viral, to be fair, when it came out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's weird because I remember the trailer for that we saw at what was it, last year at the sort of IGN, like all the sort of E3 type stuff last year.
Oh, it was PS5 announcement. We saw this.
Yeah, first. It was like a showcase or whatever, right? And then I remember seeing it, and there was no real hype around it. People were just kind of like, I guess so. And then the moment, like the lead up to it coming out, everyone was like, oh, this game actually looks decent. So I think once we saw the gameplay, people were actually impressed, I think.
Yeah, I remember being intrigued from the first trailer, but to be fair, Jay, maybe it's a case of we're just so used to games not living up to expectation that people, didn't want it to think it was going to be that good until it came out or we saw it, sort of thing.
Guess so. Maybe people were also just wanting better things from the first year of sort of announcements of a new gen. People were sort of expecting like amazing announcements, and we didn't really get any last year. Not really.
True. True. Yeah. So, have you played it, Jay, or anything?
I haven't. No.
No. Okay.
No.
So you play.
I want to play
it. And it's a nice adventure game. Bit of a platformer. So a couple of puzzles in there too.
It's weird. It kind of has. It looks like it has a feeling of like Portal, where it feels fairly isolating.
As a vibe.
Yeah, like I remember Portal because you're kind of on your own the entire time.
Sure.
It just kind of feels like almost like a journey type game,
It's got
or like
it's
a
got a bit of
Firewatch.
that.
Just like very the vibes are good, I guess. Very like calming and I don't know, nice.
Yeah, I think so. It has got some of that. I think some of that's to do with the fact that there's only robots in the game.
Okay.
Which is sort of to do with the story. But there are like hubs. There is 2 to 3 hubs where there's a lot of people, robots moving around and stuff like that.
Okay.
But in between those areas in the chapters, yeah, it's pretty isolating. I would say, Jay, you've probably hit the nail on the head there in terms of it's a vibe. The whole game is a vibe.
Which I think a lot of people are looking for at the minute. They're just sort of looking for something really chill.
Yeah.
There sort of seems to be a side of the community that that people just kind of need that chilling out type game rather than having to think too much about okay, what am I going to do next? It's more of a like, oh, this is just sort of lean back and sort of let things happen kind of game.
Absolutely, and it's I'm trying to think the right words here. It is a chill out game, and it's a short game. And it's a vibey game. Is it going to change the world? No. But it's definitely a game that we're going to talk about after this generation and be like, oh, do you remember when Stray came out on PS5?
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully the company who made it are going to move on to something similar or, do something with the sort of found audience they have now. Because I think they weren't expecting to get that many people playing it. And I think lots of people have played it now. So they're kind of, there's a lot of people who can keep an eye on those developers now and be like, oh, what are they going to do next? And hopefully that means that they're going to make more money off of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always good. So,
by the way,
helping the smaller developers out or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. I was just going to say that I absolutely would get premium, even if it is just for a month to play this game. I wouldn't buy this game full price, just for those who are wondering or whatever. I would also say that I did all the collectibles on my run through, Jay, using YouTube Guide. I just felt like it. It's just one of those games,
Was it like a fairly easy collectible journey?
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's like 88, but yeah, fairly easy. I feel
like anything over 100 is sort of like a lot, really.
Yeah, agreed.
Anything under is sort of fairly reasonable.
Yeah, and some of them are pretty quick, to be fair. So yeah, fairly reasonable. I didn't platinum it. I did miss a couple of trophies as well. Go on.
What's the music like in that? Has it got a decent
Oh,
sort
I'm
of
glad you asked, Jay.
yeah.
Very vibey.
Yeah.
It really has got a lot of cyberpunk vibes
I
to
was
it
gonna
because
say,
of
yeah,
the
it kind of like the
imagery.
robots and the sort of futuristic-esque kind of
Frankly, Jay,
thing
there's a
going
lot
on.
of anime Korean vibes in this game.
Okay. Well, like sort of like
Especially the
neon.
last, yeah, the last
Yeah.
hub city you go to, or like a town square. It's all that. It's it's Blade Runner.
Yeah. Well, I feel
Sort
like a
of
lot of like cyberpunk sort of has this built-in Asian culture kind of behind it a lot of the time. Just sort of how it works. So it's sort of like a good mixture of Asian and Western culture.
yeah,
So I can, yeah, I
yeah,
can
for
see
sure.
that. I can see that.
And I have favorited the album on Spotify because it's just all vibes, Jay. It's really good background music. I find quite like lo-fi, I would say, but yeah, really chill,
Oh,
really cool,
lo-fi. Yeah, okay.
really cool.
Sweet.
It's not necessarily like hasn't got the impact of like a Valhalla soundtrack or a Final Fantasy soundtrack by no means, but it matches the vibe of the game really well.
That's always what you want. As long as it matches, then we'll be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But unless you have any other questions, Jay, that's kind of it, really. I haven't got much else to say about the game, as far as I'm aware.
Do you have you played anything else on the premium PlayStation thing?
That's like exclusive to premium, or?
Yeah. Did you play anything else during your time that you had it, or did you just play?
Well, I've
Stray?
still got it for another few days. I am playing another couple of games that I'm hoping to get done in the next couple of weeks, so I'll talk about them if I get them done.
Okay. Fair enough.
But aside from that, no, mate, nothing else. Nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll
That's it for
eventually get that PlayStation thing, but not right now. I'm going to be too busy. I'm going to be busy until March, gaming wise. So
Right.
maybe between now and then there'll be something interesting added.
I imagine April time, May time might be a good time to cancel Game Pass for a couple of months and maybe try out the PS Plus, maybe.
But then again, Game Pass is probably one of the things in the last year that surprised me the most. With that's coming to Game Pass. Oh, I'm so glad I already have it. So
no game is saved, Jay.
No, it really isn't. And it could also happen at any time. They just release them. It's like, oh, okay, great.
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, Nini Cooney's on Game Pass. Okay.
Yeah. Persona. It's funny. Persona Royals 5 is coming to the same day as bloody Gotham Knights. So.
Is it?
If I want to play that, I'm going to have to wait until after.
Fair. Did you, well, look, I'm done with my stuff, so I guess we're moving on to a bit of an interlude now. But did you check out the previews for Gotham Knights? Are you not concerned?
Yeah, I'm watching as much as I can. I've still got a couple of videos I need to watch surrounding sort of the skill trees of some of the characters. So,
and
I mean, most of the story is already leaked online too, so I kind of know
really
some stuff. Yeah, a lot of it was sort of speculated. Like there was, I won't say exactly what it was, but there's on the Gotham Knights Reddit, a lot of people are sort of like speculating what the story might be, and most people have guessed it on the head, to be honest. So I'm not annoyed that I already know pretty much what the ending is, but I don't know the full extent of it, so I'm not gonna go too much further.
Do you mean like as in people have kind of guessed the main plot? Like
I mean just like one aspect of it. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Which is fine. I mean, it was kind of obvious if you if you sat down and thought, right, well, this could happen, this could happen, you're gonna get it right.
Okay.
More than likely, it's not like out of the out of left field. It's just sort of like, oh, I mean, that makes sense. I can see that happening. Yes, okay. Anybody could guess it, but I'm sure there's a lot we don't know yet.
So what were your thoughts on everybody else's thoughts on it, on the previews and stuff?
Yeah, because October 5th, I think, was the embargo day where people could talk about it a lot more. It seems to me that a lot of people are sort of unimpressed with the combat to a degree. I think it's because all the people who played it only got to play the game in instances throughout the game rather than a steady progression. I think that was sort of the main thing a lot of these game journalists were talking about was had they played the game from the beginning to the end, the progression of the combat would have felt like you earned it more, or like you sort of got used to it. Whereas just playing it in instances across different save files across the game, it didn't really feel natural. It just felt a bit like you felt almost like God mode too quickly. You kind of had to like steadily get there or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, I haven't really been paying too much attention necessarily. It just sort of feels like people are looking forward to it. I haven't really seen anything too bad. I think most people are just saying it's sort of maybe going to be either a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Like, it's not going to be groundbreaking, but it's not going to be terrible. But it definitely feels like right in that range of, like, you know, the sweet spot for me. Of like, I'm going to enjoy it regardless of how it plays, probably.
Yeah, sure. To be fair though, Jay, like, well, one, maybe we could all do with a good AAA game, right? Which isn't filled with microtransactions and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, you're going to get plenty of hours from it. I'm sure it'll be a fairly big game. So.
Oh, that's the other thing I want to talk about. Gotham Knights is the trophies or the achievements have been released.
Okay.
And
officially,
they're promising. There's no difficulty ones.
Oh. So any that you think I'm gonna have to play through this twice or anything, or?
There may be a couple, depending on how the game works, where you could play it up to 4 times. But it's only because you need to do certain things with all 4 of the characters. But I know you can switch between any of the characters just in one playthrough. So if I really wanted to, I could do everything in one playthrough, but I'm tempted to go through it multiple. I'm not really sure yet. So.
Okay. But to be fair, though, the Arkham games all had pretty good trophy lists, didn't they?
I will say this one is very similar to Arkham in that you sort of need to beat certain enemies a number of times. And there's a lot of collectibles. From what I've seen. There's like at least 200 and something collectibles. So.
Oh, okay.
I'd say the collectible... Or? No, it's similar, but not really. I say from what I've seen, I reckon the trophies or the achievements that are gonna bug me are situational in that they could either be super easy or they could be super random. Like I'd have to get the exact time in the game to be able to like do it. Not necessarily like a story position, but more like a random enemy generator type thing. Like I need to be able to do a certain amount of things during one, because the way the game works is there's like nights. So like you have a 12-hour period where you can do a certain amount of things in that 12 hours, and then the next 12 hours are during the day where you're back in the home base figuring out what you're going to do the next night. So you play the game throughout the night. You don't really play it through the day. So there's sort of like a weird sort of like, not a time system, but you can only get so much done during a day or during a night, and there's like crimes you have to take care of during the night, but if you miss 1 or 2, then those crimes never got solved or, you know, weren't prevented from being committed. Like if someone got mugged and you didn't help them, they got mugged, that was it, right? And I think one of the trophies is to either solve and or prevent every crime that happens in one night. So I don't know if that's going to be one of the things you can just do randomly, like it'll just happen and you're good enough for the game to be able to do it, or you actually need to like get far enough into the game where you sort of know your way around and you can do things, you know. I'm just not sure if it's timed necessarily. I don't think it is. I think it'll just be like a matter of whether you bother to do it or not, really.
Yeah, I totally get you. Or maybe like whether you've unlocked enough skills that you're good enough to finish the crime in quick succession.
I don't think it'll be a time thing necessarily. I'm hoping it'll just be whether you bother to do it. I think you can probably help every crime every night. Yeah. It's just whether you bother to do it or not. I think that's probably what it comes down to. Because let's say there's like 20 crimes in one night. Are you really going to do all of them before you want to move on? You know?
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, you can, and you'll get the trophy for it the one time, but...
And it sounds like maybe, I mean, I'm not sure if they do, but maybe all the crimes show up as soon as the night begins, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
So there's, supposedly there's like a weird sort of like detective thing surrounding it, where the only way you can get a crime to pop up is if you've investigated clues leading up to it. Something like that.
They're all random.
Yeah, so it's a little bit like Spider-Man in that a crime can just occur.
Yeah.
Or it'll be a matter of you finding a clue that leads you to that crime.
Right. Okay.
Something
So actually,
like a
you
weird
might
mixture between the
miss.
two. Yeah, you
You
could
might miss a
potentially miss some.
crime.
Yeah, which I think
Yeah.
is why there's
Okay.
a trophy surrounding it. So
Okay.
I
Maybe
don't
you might
know.
get it accidentally. Who knows?
But there's definitely like a couple ones where I'm like, maybe if I don't play the game enough, I wouldn't get it, but I'd have to play it again or keep playing it. Apparently, there's like an end game after this main story. There's like a thing that can keep you coming back, like a replayable thing.
Great.
So
Great. Okay.
that'll be interesting to see. Nobody knows what it is yet, so that'll be interesting to see.
Okay. Fair enough. Is there combat trials in this one?
Yes, there is trials. I'm not sure if it's combat. I think they're called the Belfry trials. So either it's some sort of like training mode where I think if you do like all the trials in like Gold Star or 3 stars out of 3, like similar to Batman, yeah,
Fair.
like the
Okay.
Predator
All right.
trials, like similar stuff like that, right? So I'm hoping that that's
Fair.
not going to be too difficult because it doesn't say anything about doing it on difficulty. It just says about finishing them. So
Well,
we'll
not
go
even
with
3
that.
stars.
Well, it doesn't say anything about that. It just says complete all trials. So it doesn't say complete them to max. It just says complete them. But well, I don't know. We'll see
Okay.
when we get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Fair
I am
enough.
going to be following a guide. So
Speaking of Dead Space.
yeah.
No, the Dead Space remake got a new trailer that came out.
Yeah,
I
it's
checked it
coming out
out. Thought
pretty
we should talk
soon.
about it, Jay.
Yeah.
Did you just watch it? Did you
I
manage
did
to watch
just
it?
watch it. Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts?
Thoughts. I think the game looks amazing. It's definitely. That's the thing. There's a bit of a debate really about whether it needed it. You know, like a lot of people are
Yeah.
like, I think there's a huge debate at the minute just in game community about remasters and remakes, and a lot of ones that have been done recently, like Last of Us. People were like, not really necessary. Like, who wants to pay 70 quid for a game that you could buy for a fiver if it wasn't the remastered or the HD version or whatever it is? So a lot
Well,
of
it's
people are
probably
sort of
free anyway,
speculating
yeah.
that on every one of these remasters we get now. People are like, do we need it? I'm not going to pay all that money for that again. So I don't know. I think
Well, is this going to be on EA Play, Jay? Because like it might be, right?
I doubt it. It'd be good if it was, because I'd probably play it if it was on that. Yeah, I'm definitely not
I
going to
think.
buy this thing. Definitely not. Jesus.
Well, if it's still EA, which I think it is, then it should
I don't
come
know
to
if
EA
it
Play
is,
in like 6
actually.
months. I think it is because EA Motive are making it, as far as I'm aware.
Maybe then.
So,
I
yeah.
don't know. I'd only play this if I had nothing else to play.
Fair.
You know.
What, Jake? What about? Okay, so funny because you said, "Oh, this looks a lot like Resident Evil," and I thought the same thing when I watched the trailer.
Well, no,
And
there was like a certain enemy that reminded me of a certain enemy in Resident Evil. I was just kind of like, oh yeah.
Okay.
So that's probably where they got inspiration from that, I imagine.
I also, Jay, I definitely noticed like, oh, that lighting looks good or that graphic looks good. But I will be honest with you, Jay, it's one of those things where for a remake, I think it's a remake anyway. Like it was one of those things where I thought, man, this looks how I remember. I'm sure it looks a lot better than that, but it looked how I remember it looking.
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot better if you look at the comparison. I mean, Jesus Christ! But I'd say the main thing
Okay.
was sort of like just graphical. Like the amount of polygons, I guess you want to say. Like it looks like a 4K version of the previous game.
Sure.
And you know all the textures are just amazingly brilliant. But the lighting and the audio, I think there's two of the main things the light design and the sound design is like the main things they focused on, just to make it a lot more scary. I think they also changed some of the level design too, potentially.
Really?
There were definitely some things that weren't as that were sort of like
a bit 360 generation.
Yeah, just a bit sort of naff in comparison. So
okay, so it sounds like neither of us are definitely going to play this day one, but maybe if it comes out for free, we'll check it out. Maybe
there's a thing here saying about the developers speculated the success of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and the Capcom remakes of Resident Evil 2 or 3 were part of the influence as to why they did this in the first place. They were like, oh, if they can do it, then we can probably be able to do it too.
Isn't it amazing that companies
cool.
like EA have to look at another company before they do something like that? I mean, who would have thought people want a Dead Space remake? Who would have thought? I mean, Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I feel like I definitely would have been screaming for this like 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying, Jay. Like, I feel like
it's
an
actually
obvious thing,
been made on the Frostbite engine as well, which is probably why it looks so good.
Right. Okay. I thought I thought the Frostbite one was the one that they keep making all the developers using it. It's not very good.
Frostbite was the one that they use for all their Battlefield
Fields?
games.
What about Anthem? What was that made on?
That's a good question. Probably Frostbite as well. I'm not sure.
Because I'm sure that was part of the reason that game suffered. But anyway.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. That's the thing about engines nowadays is that there's quite a bit of difference in a lot of them, to be honest. Like most people still use Unreal, but I know Capcom have got the Resident Evil one now, haven't they? So.
Yeah, we will actually. Yeah, that's true. We will talk about engines in due course, Jay. Actually, so without further ado, should we move on to the news? See what's going on.
Or do you want me to transition to the news, or just keep it on this?
I reckon keep it on this for now. What do you think?
Yeah,
you want to try news? We can try news.
No, we'll keep it on this. It'll be fine.
I don't mind trying it.
We'll see.
We may transition, we may not. I don't know. All right, Jay, you're up first.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to check out. I'm gonna have to check out where these sources come from, so we do a half okay.
Probably IGN.
Probably IGN.
That's where I get most of my news from.
Probably IGN. The first one: Activision acquisition given the okay in Brazil.
Yes.
Why is this significant, Jay? Like, was Brazil one of the blockers for them? Do we know? Or?
I don't know. I think there's like a company in Brazil that is. I want to say each continent sort of has its own like hub that keeps track of its like some sort of legal thing that either allows certain companies to have so much power or something. Like obviously there's like the EU for Europe, or is that what it's called? European Union?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the EU for Europe. I'm not really sure. I guess America probably has its own. It looks like South America has one in Brazil, and then I imagine Asia probably has one in different countries. I'm not really sure. But they're sort of like, there to make it so companies have some level of, like, it's almost like all to do with like loot boxes and stuff. Like certain governments are, allow games to be sold depending on certain criteria, and I think the one in Brazil were the first to say okay to this acquisition, because a lot of people, I know that the EU is sort of speculating that it might not go through over here because they're worried that they're going to have too much of a monopoly on certain products. So, but it looks like Brazil didn't even they literally said, because I think the biggest problem is that Sony is trying to get in the middle of this whole thing, so they aren't affected by it. Basically, they know that if this happens, that they're going to be massively affected by it, and they're probably going to lose out on a lot of money. And Brazil's main comment was basically, yeah, we're saying this is okay because we're not sucking up to Sony. Just in different words, basically. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it was basically to the effect of, yeah, we're not going to suck up to another company just because they're scared they're going to lose out on money. Which I thought was quite interesting.
That is interesting.
So Brazil had literally zero issue with it. So hopefully everyone else has zero issue with it as well. Because we're going to find out in November whether or not it's going to be okay for Europe, I think. So, and if this does go through, it means we might be able to play bloody Call of Duty on Game Pass.
Yay!
Because I'm not paying fucking 70, 90 quid for Call of Duty. Yay! Fuck that, yeah!
So Jay, what if it doesn't go through in November or whatever?
Then there'll be another investigation, and they'll try again next year, I imagine.
Oh my god! Right, okay.
They've basically just got to keep pushing it through until it happens.
Yeah, I'd rather it sooner rather than later, just so we can. Okay, one, because let's be honest, Jay, it's not going to make them too competitive, and two, I want Call of Duty on Game Pass. So
yeah,
we want Call of Duty on Game Pass.
I don't care what Sony says, just let us have it. Come on. Screw you guys.
Screw you.
It does almost
Sony.
feel like there is a sort of weird gaming war happening between Microsoft and Sony again. It does kind of feel like Sony are on the losing side.
It definitely seems to have heated up like it did back in the old days over the last few months, for sure, Jay. There's a lot of chatter about that.
It's definitely some stuff happening behind the scenes, I imagine, yeah.
So, Jay, let's talk about CD Projekt Red. So
Please,
they've been active on Twitter. Would you like to tell me what's been going on? Because I don't really know what's been going on.
It's funny, me and you sort of have we share CD Projekt Red at this point in terms of what game of theirs we prefer.
Sure.
Like you prefer the Witcher series, and I prefer the Cyberpunk series.
But to be fair, I haven't played Cyberpunk yet. To be fair, but
yeah, it's true. I mean, you've played it a little, just not to the extent that you should have, I guess.
Correct.
But it seems they are going full steam ahead with more Witcher games and more Cyberpunk games. They are officially making a sequel to Cyberpunk.
Okay, so break this down for me, Jay, because I've heard the title 5 new games.
Yes. The first game is called Sirius, we think.
The code name's called Sirius.
Yeah, first one's called Sirius.
As in, like, you're being funny, you're being serious.
No, Sirius is in like Sirius Black.
Ah, cool.
Which is also, I think, the name of a moon or a sun.
Oh, okay.
Sirius is a new game from the Molasses Flood. Do you know what the Molasses Flood is?
No.
Neither do I. Something to do with Witcher, but I'm not really sure what it is.
Don't know.
I feel like we should know what that is.
I don't know. Okay, I've got the lowdown here, Jay, if it's okay for me to go through. So this is from IGN. So
that's literally what I just spent the last 5 minutes trying to look up, is you not bothering to click the fucking link for some reason. Because I can't do it because I'm recording.
I thought you wanted to talk through it because it's your story.
I did, but for some reason you wouldn't click the link. I was like, right, okay, fine, I'll fucking do it then.
Okay, so
Jesus.
Right. 5 games. Orion. Next Cyberpunk game.
Yes.
Right, okay. Polaris, next installment of the Witcher series, which they announced was in pre-production. It is the beginning of a new saga. We aim to release 2 more Witcher games after Polaris, creating a new AAA RPG trilogy.
Hopefully,
the full trilogy is intended to be released in a 6-year period.
Yeah.
That's a funny joke.
Well, you read that wrong. Well, you interpreted it wrong.
Okay, sorry.
So what will happen is the first game will come out, and then in 6 years, the next 2 games will come out. So there'll be one every 3 years. So there'll be the first
full trilogy.
Yes, I know, but you interpreted it wrong. Trust me, I've gone over this with them and looking at other articles. The first new Witcher game will come out, Witcher 4, and then over the next 6 years, 2 more will come out.
I understand.
So in theory, it'll actually probably be about 9 years of development for 3 games, but it'll be 6 years after the first game comes out. That's how long it'll take.
I understand.
Because people were getting arsy about that online. I was like, yeah, if I can figure it out then, because that's annoying.
Canis Majoris, a full-fledged Witcher game separate to the new Witcher saga, starting with Polaris. Wait, hold on a minute. What? What? So this is not a sequel to Polaris. This is a separate game.
No, separate game, just an open world Witcher RPG.
Okay. Sirius, a code name for the game developed by the Molasses Flood, set in the Witcher universe and created with support from CDPR. A multiplayer gameplay on top of a single player experience. How interesting. And the final one is Hadar, a code name
Are you deliberately saying these wrong?
No.
Canis Majoris is the other one, by the way, not Canis. And it's Hadar, like radar. Fucking Hadar. Were you fucking reading Star Wars fan fiction or something? Jesus. I'm pretty sure these are all like star or moon names, which is probably the reason why I know them.
No, I'm too busy, Jay. I don't do astrology.
Oh
a code name for a third entirely distinct IP created from scratch within
new IP.
CDPR.
New IP.
Earlier stages of the creative process. Right, Jay, before you give your well-earned thoughts on all 5
I
of
don't
these,
even know,
if you
to be
fancy
honest.
it, okay,
I
Jay?
want to know what yours are about the Witcher stuff. That's all I
Why the fuck am I hearing about anything that's not going to come out for 10 years' time? Why are we talking about this? Why did you tweet about it? I don't want to hear it. None of this exists until it exists. None of it exists, Jay.
Some of it exists.
Sure, some of it exists.
They've been working on it for at least the last 2 or 3 years.
Most of this is not. I'll tell you about a book I'm going to write in 10 years' time, but I'm only going to start writing it in 10 years' time.
Who do you think
so
you
it
are,
won't come
George
out
R. R.
until
Martin?
20 times. Yeah, wow, good. I like that, Jay. I like that. Jay, this pisses me off.
It actually doesn't piss me off at all. I think it's the complete opposite. I think it's good because you're letting people know that you're working on stuff.
We know they're working on stuff.
Yeah, but do we? Until they say it?
Yeah.
No.
Of course we do.
Maybe not. Maybe not. We don't
Right.
know to the extent of what they're working on. I think part of the reason they're doing this is because they've sort of like CD Projekt Red have sort of done this thing where they're making it a lot more apparent on what they're working on. Like they're being a lot more transparent about exactly what they're doing. They've even put out graphs of like the number of people or the percentage of people working at CDPR working on specific things over the next couple of years. Like they've actually got like a thing that says like 20% of the CDPR are working on the new DLC for Cyberpunk across this time period, and then it changes from 20% to 30% over the next months after that. Like they're showing exactly who's working on what, when, who, when, where, why, how, and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah,
but
it's just
I don't
cool to know that
I
stuff.
just want a finished. It is cool, but I just want a finished product.
Well, yeah, but like think about
you
it, right?
Put 5 people on it.
Give it like 4 years, you'll be like, why haven't CDPR told us about anything?
Jay, that's literally what every developer does, but
Yeah,
I assume
know.
they're working on something. And then they'll come out and they'll go, surprise, it's The Witcher 4. And then everyone goes, well, we thought it might have been that, but that's amazing.
Yes,
we
I
didn't
can understand
actually
where you're
know
coming
until you showed us the trailer. And then you show us everything and it's coming out in 4 months. That's incredible. No. We know about all these games for the next, Jay, I'm not exaggerating. This is the next 15 years.
Probably, yeah, it probably is, if not more. It is kind of a double-edged sword, really, in that, yes, it's cool that they're being a lot more transparent and we now know all this stuff. But the bad side of it is that we won't get that cool epic moment of like, oh, like we might have thought it was that, but we weren't 100% sure, so now we're like super hype around it. Like there's the hype level is sort of diminished because we now know it's potentially coming. But we don't know if they're putting out all this effort now to tell us about all this stuff, and then eventually they're going to just like go quiet for like 4 years, and then nothing's going to come out, until like the marketing for the next thing comes out. So I reckon if they did that,
100%.
I think it would probably still be fine, potentially.
I agree.
Because we've known about Starfield, we've known about Elder Scrolls 6 for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, correct.
It's not coming out for another 2 or 3, maybe 4.
Correct, and I'm pissed off about it.
Well, there we go. Can't really help it now.
No, you're right. Maybe this is that, but way worse. Like you say, Jay. Like I don't know what to say. It's
almost like getting people's wallets ready. I think is the other side of it, right? It's like, how can we get these people to make sure they save money to definitely be able to buy this thing? Oh, I know. We'll let them know 10 years ahead of time, and then when it does come out, they'll have prepared anyway.
See, my thinking, Jay, is that if you make a game good enough, people are going to buy it, like Elden Ring. People, no, you're telling me 30 million people put aside their wallet? No, they didn't. The game came out, it stormed, and people thought, I need to play that, I'll buy it.
I'd say there's like a good 30 to 40% of those people probably did put the money away, and the other 60 to 70 probably didn't, and like you say, just stormed it, and then so I think it is again, it's a marketing strategy, and of all the people that will eventually buy it, if only a third of those people put the money away, you're at least guaranteed this. Whereas had you not told anyone about it, you might have only been guaranteed half of that. So it's just trying to guarantee a bit more than what they could have potentially had.
I hear you.
So it's just all business. It's all business, baby.
I don't know, Jay. What do I say? What do we say? What do we say? We don't know anything about these games.
I'm just hopeful. If anything, it gives me hope.
But we knew hope for what, Jay? Hope for what?
Hope for a better gaming industry. Hope for better quality games.
Oh, just because they're making a lot of games.
Hope for improvement. Hope for new IP. Just hope for anything better than what we already have. And I feel like what we have now is infinitely better than what we had 10 years ago.
Even if
it may seem terrible, if you really look, to be honest, if you want to go that deep into it, most of what we have now is pretty similar to what we had 10 years ago. There's not a lot has changed. I think the only thing that's really changed is graphical fidelity is slightly improved. The hardware that we use is heavily improved since Xbox One generation and PS4 generation.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, there is improvements. It's just they may not be as grand as what you would imagine.
Yeah.
And I can imagine in 10 years from now, there will be improvements, but they won't be as grand as what we could have hoped. Because that's the thing, as we move forward, the jump between technology gets smaller and smaller every year. Like from the 50s to the 60s, the amount of technology that was founded was like more than what was probably found in the last 40 years before now. Just because there was so much that was happening. Whereas like every year, every decade, there seems to be less and less less leaps in technology, and that carries on in every facet.
Yeah, see, because I think some people would argue, I agree with you, but I think some people would argue there's even bigger gaps, right? But like that, just even if that's the case, we don't see it, right?
It depends on the terminology you use. By gap, what do you mean by gap?
Or what you just saying earlier in terms of like technology.
Well, no, I just mean
developed.
like a leap in like discovery, like going from Xbox One to Series X is a fair leap, but it's not as much of a leap as probably from like 360 to Xbox One.
Well, see, but I think what people would argue is that it's a bigger leap because the Series X is, say, 5 times more powerful than the Xbox One, if that makes sense. Sure. But like, I get where you're coming from, because while that might be the case, the games are the same.
I guess so. Yeah, but I mean, to me, they're a lot bigger of a difference. I'd say I feel like some people look at it with a wide lens and go, "Oh, it looks the same," but as soon as you zoom in, you start to see the glaring differences, and they're good glaring differences, because I'd rather play that than that.
Yeah.
So,
totally. For the most part, yes.
For the most part,
I understand.
Yeah, I guess a good example is comparing Dead Space on 360 to now. Well, that's quite a leap.
Yeah,
I think
100%. This, funnily enough, Jay, I'm not trying to be controversial to you. This gives me anything but hope. This just gives me you're telling more and more of the conversation is being around things that are not there. Things I know they are there, and I'm sure they're well intended. But Jay, the breakdowns that you're talking about, very interesting and really interesting to know. But I don't believe for a second that you can have that sort of schedule and structure and it go to plan in game development.
Well, no, there'll clearly be differences and things won't exactly. There'll probably be delays here and delays there, but this is just like a broad scope, really, isn't it?
Sure.
I also think a lot of this is to help mitigate what happened with Cyberpunk, in that if you give a game 10 plus years of lead up and hype, and all of a sudden the game that comes out isn't to what 10 years of imagination does to someone, then obviously it's not going to have that great of a launch, right? Whereas if you give them less time to think, oh, it's going to be that amazing, and you sort of give them more of a realistic development schedule, then their expectations aren't going to be as high, which means hopefully when the game does come out, they're not going to be as disappointed as they were with something like Cyberpunk. And I think for a lot of people, Death Stranding was that similar thing. Like, we knew about it for years and years and years, and people were like, oh, this thing's going to be the best thing ever. And then it came out, and only about half those people agreed that it was still the best thing ever, and the other half were like, oh, this isn't as good as what I thought it was going to be.
But isn't this news announcement going against what you're saying there? Because they're telling us ahead of time?
They are, but it's less time than something like Cyberpunk, so where it was like 10, 13 years, right?
Do you think?
Yeah. We'll see the Cyberpunk game, we'll see probably in like 5 years.
And the Witcher game, do you think we'll see quite soon, do you?
2 to 3. The first one we'll see in 2 to 3.
Okay, alright.
But then after that it'll be another 6 years, so we won't see we won't see Witcher 6 in quotes until probably 2029, 2030.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, they could even do like what have we had sequel to a game that's come out fairly quickly recently? What's like the smallest time between game sequels that were actually decent, or maybe not decent?
My thoughts are going to Sony first party, God of War Ragnarok.
Sure, that's what 3.
4
No, it will be 4. Yeah, because it's coming out next year. No, it's coming out this year.
I
Oh,
know.
it's
The
2018,
original came
wasn't
out.
it? I always think it was
Yeah,
2019 that came out. I don't know why.
it's all
But
right.
yeah, 4 years. That's a decent amount of time. I feel like Assassin's Creed is probably it, right? One every year or
Every other
every other
year,
year.
every
That's
two
probably the
years.
example.
Well, it will be 3 by the time. Well, it'll be 4 by the time the big one comes out.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean, you could also make
yeah,
an
Assassin's
argument for
Creed,
something like Pokemon as well.
Call of
There's
Duty, I
usually Call
suppose,
of Duty's
but
one every year. Yeah, there's another one, but there
yeah,
isn't much variation in those, I guess.
yeah, true,
But
true.
they're still all, still making a lot of money. So
It's true.
whatever happens with that, I don't know.
Right, let's move on, Jay. A
Please.
very, very interestingly looking new Need for Speed game has been announced called Unbound. Looking
Yeah.
with a new art style, Pusha T. There's cool music in the background. Looks like a bit of a reinvention for the franchise. Jay, you're our racing gamer out of us two. What are your thoughts on this trailer?
I love it. So the whole thing behind this is they're trying to go back to the Need for Speed Underground style of Need for Speed.
Love
That is
it.
sort of what a lot of the developers are saying. They're saying, "Yep, we want to kind of finally go back to how Underground was because we all grew up on that, so we want to make it again, but in our vision rather than we don't want to just copy and paste. We kind of want to do it again, but in the sort of modern day. So they want to make the modern day Need for Speed Underground, which I'm very happy about. So I think the whole like Unbound Underground thing is sort of like a play on that too. So
Right. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, and it also looks like this is the first time Criterion's made a Need for Speed in nearly a decade. I assume they were the key people behind
a lot of the more
a lot
classic
of.
Need for Speeds, yeah.
I assume so. Yeah.
Because I'd say it's weird. The last two Need for Speeds that came out, I really love, but the ones before that weren't that great. I've played the last three Need for Speeds, but there was sort of like a middle ground between like 2012 and 2016, 2017, where there was just a load of shit. It was just really bad. So yeah, it seems to me that Need for Speed is having a bit of an upswing at the minute, and I'm enjoying it while it's happening. So
Yeah, and also I said to you, Jay, but I think before we started recording that this is exactly what I'm looking for. Here's a surprise trailer. Nobody knew it was coming, and it's
yeah, it
coming out in
comes
2
out
months.
less than 2 months.
Amazing.
Like I
Amazing.
think the release, yeah, it was like 3 days, so it would be like 7.5 weeks after they released the reveal trailer. The game's coming out. It's kind of like, oh shit, it's
Also,
insane.
Jay,
It's
was
like
I
the
right in
least amount of time I've ever seen, I think, for a game
Was I right
in
in
a long
thinking
time.
that some of that trailer was gameplay and that like it had like you could see like drawings and things happening while you were
hmm
driving and things?
Yeah,
That's so cool.
it's got a very like almost comic booky kind of. I think the thing I saw in a lot of the articles was they want to kind of go with a very graffiti type, sketchy type look to it. So yeah, I think that's weird. Like one of the bigger um, influences in racing games recently has been JDM, which is sort of like this Japanese drift type driving.
Okay.
And it's sort of almost like a style of car too. A lot of Japanese cars are sort of in that style. Sort of very like low riders, like big wheels, big rims. Very reminiscent of like Midnight Club and old school Need for Speed, basically. But like in the more sort of Japanese, Asian, modern style. So, which is one of my favorite racing cultures, I guess. So, as long as they include more of that, I'm happy.
Awesome. Are you getting this day one?
Oh yeah, I'm getting it day -3, day -3. Because it comes out on the 2nd
'Cause-
of December, but you can get it on the 29th of November if you have EA Play, which most Game Pass people do, right?
yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
know you can
Yeah.
pre-order the game
By
right now for a
default, yeah.
cheaper amount as well with Game Pass. So
Jay, when's your birthday?
28th.
11th. 28th.
So it comes
Oh
out a day after my
wow.
birthday,
That's cool.
and I've got bloody
Also,
Pokemon 2 weeks before that as well. So
Jay, you messaged me, didn't you, about something to do with your birthday release in Arkham Knights, was it? In Gotham Knights, was it? Or no?
no, well, it's Pokemon
Okay.
probably Pokemon and/or Need for Speed.
Okay. All right.
It was weird. I remember
Oh,
one of the Call of Duties came out on my birthday many years ago, but it was one I didn't
good one.
like, so I was like, nah, bit naff.
Bit shit.
But I feel like Call of
All right.
Duties have been coming out earlier and earlier. They used to come out in November, but now they come in October.
Yeah. Agreed.
They've changed it.
A lot of reviews come out soon, Jay. A lot of games coming out, so it'll be interesting to see all the different reviews and stuff. You know.
Yeah, I feel like October and February of next year are stacked. Like there's literally like 12 games coming out in both, like big
Crikey.
ones. So
I do find it quite exciting just to see the general reaction, you know, and thoughts on games, even if I don't play them. It's quite exciting.
Me too.
Next up, Jay, Skull and Bones is delayed
again. What, until next year?
Until next year.
Yeah, when was it? Like March?
Oh, I don't even know.
I think it might have been March because February would have been disastrous.
Jay, is because this game's going to be terrible.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think it's already been in development for like 10 plus years at this point. So
it's not looking.
Then again, so is Dead Island 2, but I'm still looking forward to that. So
that game looked good, to be fair. That game looked good.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping it's just it's weird because Dead Island 1 had like a very weird like a weird feeling to it. Like it felt very like a laggy transit. Like you press in a button and it would like take a second to get
latency.
Yeah, really. It felt like it had like a built-in latency, even though it didn't. But it felt like it did, which I'm hoping they've gotten rid of that in Dead Island 2 because it just felt awful. That's my biggest gripe with that game was the weird latency feeling. It was awful.
Fair.
Other than that, it was great.
Jay, there was a game I finished which I forgot to speak to you about.
Go on then.
I got another one to make it a trilogy. I'm being that efficient.
Okay, that's good.
The Dark Pictures anthology Little Hope. I played with L.
Little Hope. Remind me what that one is.
So
hang on. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, that's the one where they're sort of like in a foresty type area, right?
Yeah. And
it
had the guy. You remember the child actor? Will? Is it Will Poulter?
Yeah, he's also playing in the new Guardians movie. He's playing Adam Warlock, and he is buffed up.
Jay, every actor who plays in Marvel films buffed up.
Dude, you need to Google a picture of him right now.
Steroids.
Dude, picture him in your head and how skinny and weird he looks. Now think about how he looks if he's like just like fucking barrel chested, dude. He's massive. He looks like bloody Chris Pratt. He's just like, whoa. He is mahoosive now. I know. He went hard. He went on the Marvel diet, dude. He looks like Thor.
He looks fucking steroids, bro.
No, I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
All right. So we played that. Me and Elle played that. I think it's sort of like 4 or 5 hours ish.
Really?
Thought it was good.
I thought it'd be longer than that. I was thinking more like 6 to 8, but alright.
Nah, bro. Nah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was good. Thought the ending was predictable, but it was good. And
most of them are.
Quite a few jump scares, which I thought was a bit poor.
Well, that's the whole point of the game.
Well, I know, but like,
Until Dawn,
I would rather be scared by vibe and that sort of thing.
Like something like Dead Space should be like that level of horror, not like I feel like those kind of what are they, Dark Pictures games? They're very like they're sort of like a C-list horror movie, but as a game.
Yeah.
Like there's like really cheap jump scares where it's like, you got me, but you know, was it warranted? Not really. You could have done better than that.
Well, that's the thing though, Jay, is that apparently House of Ashes, which is the one after that, and Until Dawn, they have that. They're like a B/A horror. Like
I feel like it's fairly similar in that it's just a lot of cheap jump scares. I mean, I've played Until Dawn. It's pretty much that.
What are you chatting about? Until Dawn's fantastic. It starts
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's kind of what it is.
And then it evolves into like an actual horror game.
Yeah, it definitely gets there. It definitely ramps up. There's another one we're missing. There was that one on the boat.
Yeah, Man of Medan.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Me and Elle played through that one too. So basically we bought this one, Jay, and we were like, right, we'll play online co-op, and you could basically download the free version of the game. No, lies. You both now have to buy the game online. Bullshit. Why are games, Jay? No co-op in anything anymore. It's pissing me off, man.
Gotham Knights has co-op.
Online split screen?
I don't know if it's split screen.
I mean, I think online co-op.
Well, it has online co-op.
Very good. Well, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Jay, doesn't have online co-op. Do we live in 2002?
Apparently.
What the fuck is going on, guys?
I don't know.
So yeah. So anyway, so it was on the PS Plus membership. So Elle played it through that.
Okay.
So we finished it. We got a few trophies. Blah blah blah. Enjoyed our time. The reason I'm telling you that, Jay, is because a week later there was a PS5 update for it. Yay! Just after me and Elle play it randomly after not playing it for like 8 months.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's that. So Man of Medan and Little Hope, they're doing more, Jay, than just like textures. Like they've put in new content. I think they've amended some endings. They basically want to pull up the first 2 Dark Pictures episodes to a higher standard that the other ones have, apparently.
Yeah, because obviously you start somewhere, but then they obviously improved as they went and thought we need to go back and improve those to the same quality as the latest ones.
I think so. That's what I see.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
So that's that.
Because that is again another series that came out. The sequels come out fairly quickly after one another. I'm pretty sure it's one every year for the last 3 or 4 years, right? But they're not, like you said, they're not exactly long games necessarily.
No.
So it's pretty easy to do.
They are pretty consistently.
You could probably release all those as like a quadrilogy, right?
Well, I think they're planning to do 7 or 8 of them.
Well, there you go.
So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
Next up, Jay, we've got some meaty snooze stories here. I'm going to be honest with you.
Snooze stories.
So I'll start with this one. As I would say, 98% of the gaming population expected, Stadia has shut down officially.
Again, I think that it definitely is. It's sort of like a mixture of being too late and too soon. Because it is basically what Netflix is, or what Game Pass is right now. It's up against Game Pass, so it's kind of like tough, you know. I think had Game Pass not existed, this might have actually been able to flourish. I think that's half the battle.
I also think that you can't have people subscribe and pay lump sums for their games. I just don't think
that's true.
Works.
Yeah, I think you'd have to pay the subscription, and then that'd be it. That you had all the games available. You can't do lump sum.
Or you just pay lump sum, right? Or something.
Yeah, it's got to be one or the other. You can't. Yeah. Can't do both because what's the point at that point, you know?
Did you think it was going to shut down, or what?
I didn't think it'd be this quick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were saying something about how like previous very old consoles had like their entire generation in the same amount of time, and how they're like so beloved now in comparison, you know.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, you know, they managed to do so little with the same amount of time that others did so much with. It just felt like a bit of a waste, I think, for a lot of people.
Jay, next up, a very controversial story. Just rumors, just speculation, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of talking about, but apparently there may or may not be a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster / remake in the works.
So Jay, this is like part of the argument I was making earlier about people being like, we don't need this.
We've already discussed, Jay, The Last of Us Part 1 doesn't need to exist, right, Frank? End
didn't
of story.
Need to.
Now,
just another money
Jay,
grab.
For me, if this is actually happening, Jay, mark my words, this is the beginning of the end of Sony as we know it.
Yeah. Because
this is for me is the last straw of many recent decisions that Sony have done that has basically made me go, you guys are fucking lunatics.
I think they're just trying to throw as much as they possibly can at the wall and seeing what sticks. Good or bad, because they're like, fuck, we're gonna get absolutely demolished by Microsoft soon. We need like another success story. So we're just throwing as much as we possibly can at the wall, and whatever sticks and does well sticks. But nothing stuck.
Jay, like,
it's all a load of shit.
Like, the PS4 generation is one of the best generations ever.
Yeah,
right?
It was
dominant. We literally had like the best games, some of the best games ever.
Yeah, best exclusives. But then Microsoft answered and went, "Hey, hang on, we're going to beat your ass with Game Pass, and then you're going to lose." So.
And
it's just a bit of a pendulum right now. The pendulum's on the Microsoft side. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe in 10, 20 years it'll be back on the Sony side. Maybe even sooner. We don't know.
But what I don't understand, Jay, is that like they had the formula, which is make incredible exclusives.
Yeah.
You know, get Destiny, so you've got your live service game, and make good hardware. Instead, now we've got a PS5 that still looks like a fucking Wi-Fi router. We've got exclusives that are coming out not as often, and frankly, you know, look, God of War Ragnarok hasn't come yet, so we'll see how that goes down. Spider-Man 2 hasn't come yet, so we'll see how that goes down. But we're getting sequels that we want, but at the same time, we're not getting a Days Gone sequel. Why am I getting a Days Gone sequel? Why is Naughty Dog making a multiplayer game? What is that about? Why are we getting The Last of Us Part 1 as a 70 quid release? What the F are you doing, Sony? All these things, Jay. Apparently the rewards program that they've brought out, like Microsoft Rewards, which is sick, is apparently dog shite.
Yeah,
apparently.
What do they call it? I can't remember. It's like platinum something.
All Star, was it All Stars?
I don't know. There's like a number of names I've seen.
So for me, Jay, this is one of many things that Sony have done where I think, you guys have gone, man. You've lost the plot. So
they're really not doing very good. I think a lot of people are saying that if you're going to do a remake of anything, have it be Bloodborne.
Right. Obviously.
Can I just point out, had they have not done Last of Us and not bothered with Horizon, and it had just been Bloodborne PS5 and like a remaster, it probably would have outsold Elden Ring. More than likely.
You think?
Yes. If not come very close.
But you know how many copies Bloodborne sold?
Yes.
It's not as many. It's nowhere near as many as
Elden Ring has now surpassed 20 million copies. Yeah.
I think Bloodborne sold like 3 or 4 million.
I think it was actually more like 5 or 6, but still.
So why would the remake sell more?
Because there's a lot more Souls fans now than there were back then.
I hear you. Sorry, was not putting 2 and 2 together there.
And also, with the success of Elden Ring, people might go back and go, well, hang on, why are people talking about this Bloodborne game so much? Like the hype around it, I think would have, much like the hype around Elden Ring, would have helped it.
I hear you, and I agree with you. It probably would have outsold The Last of Us Part 1 and whatever this is too. Yeah, agreed.
Horizon 2 just came out. Like, they don't need to remake Horizon 1. Like, to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if they remade the God of War game in like 3 or 4 years. Would not surprise me. And it doesn't need it, because they'd do it anyway. They'd be like, fuck it.
At the wall.
It's just so stupid. Like, there's so many other games from like the PS3, PS4 era that they could just redo, and it would just be infinitely better. The ones that just deserve it and need it. But we don't want remakes. We want new IPs.
Or Spyro 4, please.
Just make something new. Make something innovative. Be fucking... Work smarter, not harder.
To be fair, Jay, to your credit, I know God of War's a reboot, but if you look at the PS4 generation, Spider-Man was a new IP in sorts. I know it's not, but it is really.
Yeah,
Ghost of Tsushima, a new IP. Days Gone, a new IP. So it can be done.
There are a number of companies right now making similar games to Ghosts. Well, I think someone's working on something like Ghosts. I know there's also another company making a Monster Hunter type game.
Yes, I've heard about that.
I don't know. It's called Wild Hearts. I don't know if you remember. Is it Toukiden? It was like a 360 era Monster Hunter clone that didn't really do that well, but now they've come back and have made it into like a Japanese type thing. That looks really cool.
Why haven't they made a Monster Hunter World 2, Jay? Considering how
well it's
Monster
coming.
Hunter World sold.
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming. Give it 3 or 4 years. It'll be out. Monster Hunter World was like Resident Evil Remake 2, Resident Evil 7, and Monster Hunter World were the 3 main games that basically revived Capcom. Capcom were a dying game company before that.
Yeah.
They were absolutely dying. They were almost on their way out. And then those 3 games, if anything, I'd say Monster Hunter World is probably the main reason why they're still around. And they've been able to develop shit since then. Like Street Fighter 6 is going to blow up hopefully as well next year. So
yeah, it looks great.
Because that's being made on the Resident Evil engine as well. And it's I mean the beta's out right now, the closed beta, and people are playing it to like no end. They're going crazy on it and finding all this new tech. So
if anybody like you say, Jay, it's a really valid point you bring up at a really good time. If anybody wants to do things right and still make loads of money, look at Capcom. If you want to do a remake, look at Capcom. Yeah. Yeah,
they're doing a remake because Resident Evil 4 remake's coming out soon, and that's the most beloved Resident Evil of all time. So
right.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Right, J Balls. Last news story. We have quite obviously we've got a lot to talk about. What can we say? This is a really interesting one, Jay. To do with 343, who make Halo, obviously.
Okay.
So, first up, Bonnie Ross has left the company.
Yeah,
So
I heard
Bonnie
about
Ross
this.
was the head of 343. Now, the reason I want to talk to you about this, right, is because apparently, from multiple different people I listened to on podcasts, she was outed, basically.
Oh.
So she said it was personal reasons, but she was outed.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Right. So there's a few things to take away from that alone, Jay, right? First of all, without being horrible, why didn't that happen 4 years ago?
I guess maybe they wanted to see where things would go. Maybe I don't know.
But
maybe
after 2 games,
okay, here's a question then. Do you think Halo is dead?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I think Halo's gone. I think it's overstayed its welcome. Seriously, I think Gears has too.
I relate much more to Gears about what you're saying there than Halo though. I would rather play Halo than Gears.
I genuinely think the Halo generation of gamers is just us, and that's it. There's nobody else wants to play Halo. And by that I mean the younger generation don't care about Halo because they didn't grow up on it necessarily.
Yeah, sure.
They weren't around in the glory days, so why would they care about it now? Halo is it's as far as I'm concerned, it's dead. And the thing is, it's been dead for me for 5 or 6 years, but.
So what? I'm just surprised that she stayed around as long as she did, frankly, after Halo 5. But anyway, so she's finally outed, right, Jay? And this is a year after nearly a year after Halo Infinite comes out after a year delay, right? Then they put in 3 new people in the new kind of trilogy structure to replace her. And one of the new announcements following that, and all the different people moving and things like that, disruption, I'm sure, is they're moving to Unreal Engine. Okay. Now, this is big news, Jay, because they made I think they made or adapted their new engine for Halo moving forward called the Slipspace engine.
Yeah.
So they took 2 years to do this. They took the 2 years after Halo 5 to make this new engine for Halo Infinite. They use Slipspace for Halo Infinite, and because Halo Infinite is a live service game, apparently, even though it's got fuck all content, the thinking is that they're going to, bring out updates for it, multiplayer and single player, I assume, and just continue making stuff for Halo Infinite, right? They're now moving to Unreal Engine, and nobody knows if they mean future expansions in Halo Infinite are going to be in Unreal Engine, or is the next Halo game going to be in Unreal Engine? Or we don't know. We don't know anything. But frankly, Jay, I don't know what the hell is going on. And it really annoys me because the Xbox just can't manage studios, clearly. They just can't. How do you have a studio make Halo Infinite and then put out nothing a year after it's out when it's a live service game?
Yeah, it's odd.
Who do you blame, right? Do you blame the developer or do you blame the parent? You know what I mean?
I feel like they're obviously shifting things around a lot right now because there's a lot of moving pieces. They can't quite. They're having to sort of mitigate the damage as much as they possibly can, right? So if they were smart about things, they just scrap everything Halo and just make something new. Because nobody's going to buy any more Halo content anymore. I just don't think there's enough people around who care about it. They should have I think after Halo 4 they should have stopped, just made something new. I don't think it needed 5.
But I reckon, Jay, if they did that by now, you'd be like, yeah, I would play a new Halo game. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think after ODST I was done. Seriously, I think Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and maybe Reach. I was like, even by Reach I was like, really, another one? Really? Okay. I was done. I was burnt out from Halo so long ago. Same with Gears. I was burnt out after 2 or 3, honestly. I just don't think that Xbox part, that side of Xbox needs to just die off. They need to progress.
The only thing it has, Jay.
You can't I know, but they need to have another thing that they do. Is there a version of that Sony has? What does Sony have game wise that's a classic of theirs that's still around? Other than like maybe Ratchet and Clank, I guess is the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I think so.
What else is there? Like Final Fantasy, I guess.
A bit different though, isn't it?
It is different. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Um,
I think Halo and Gears and like all those kind of classic Xbox games have had a lifespan, and they have a life cycle, and the life cycle ended 10 years ago, and they just kept the dead horse going. They just kept kicking it.
I hear what you're saying. Like, Naughty Dog doesn't make Crash Bandicoot anymore.
Yeah, they don't need to.
Yeah.
They shouldn't need to.
Don't even make Uncharted for that.
Make something. No, they don't. Uncharted finished. It's gone. It's finished. If you ask me, Last of Us is finished too. Like they shouldn't ever have to make another Last of Us type style like that. They shouldn't have to make anything else to do with that. From now, it should be completely new. Make a new IP. Something else for other people to fall in love with and celebrate. We don't need the same thing. Just move on to the next. On to the next. Like, and I just feel like they did the same thing as what Hollywood does, and they kept making sequels, and it just wasn't that good.
Yeah.
They tried to capture lightning in a bottle multiple times, and they only managed to do it 2 or 3 times. And after that, they should have realised it's probably not going to happen again. Yeah, I'm honestly kind of fed up hearing about all that stuff. To be honest, I'm just like, why are you still around? Just get up, like, with the times, please.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. All right, Jay. Let's move on to Pixel Perfect before we go on to your what you've been playing in that. So okay. I will share my screen. So for those who don't know, okay, guys, Pixel Perfect, the production
I've got to
team...
find the right screen.
No, don't worry.
Hang on. Oh, there you are. There I am. And there the screen is. Okay, let me.
So for those who don't know, guys, the production team pixelate some cover art. Now I know we're an audio podcast, obviously, because podcasts are audio. Well, actually, no, maybe you can get a video podcast. I don't know. Anyway, so basically, we've pixelated some game covers. It's very hard mode this week, Jay. There is a theme, and I think you can probably
well, the first one's fairly easy.
And I'm going to ask you to begin now.
Okay, so I'll describe how the first one looks to me. It's clearly a PlayStation 2 game because it says PlayStation 2 at the top with like the black bar and the PlayStation logo. That's pretty obvious. Yeah. The next bit that had I not already known what this was, it would have been harder. But I'll describe it. It's sort of like what seems to be like a weird sort of purple, starry road. I want to say on the top right.
Yeah.
Top left, there seems to be a logo of some kind with like a sort of beigey, sandy background. And then the bottom just seems to be like a load of weird blue and white and orange kind of like shapes, I guess, like circular shapes. Now, nobody hearing this is going to know what that means, but by me looking at this, I think I have a good guess. What looks to be the Cartoon Network symbol in the top left. So I'm going to hazard a guess and say, and also I think that character in the middle is Johnny Bravo, from what I can remember. So I have a feeling that this is like a Cartoon Network racing, like karting racing game, almost like the Mario Kart games, but with Cartoon Network characters. That is, I couldn't give you the exact name, but what it seems to be in red lettering is where it says racing. So I'm going to guess this is some sort of like Cartoon Network racing game. That's the best I can give you.
Very well deduced, Jay. It is called Cartoon Network Racing, so you will absolutely get that. Well played. I
think I might have seen that cover probably like 15 years ago, and it just sort of stuck around, I guess. Oh, we've got Dexter on there. We've got Powerpuff Girls. We've got Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo.
What is it? Cow and Chicken? Is that the name of it?
Dexter's Laboratory, Cow and Chicken, yeah. Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, that's great.
BD.
All the classics.
Right, next up, Jay.
Good times.
Good times indeed,
damn.
Good times indeed.
I've seen this cover. Oh, I think I know what it is.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, this is a Switch game because it's got the Switch logo in the top left, so you've got a red block there. I have a feeling the theme this week is like a Cartoon Network theme, from what I can imagine.
That is correct.
Had I not known about this particular cartoon, I would have never guessed this. The only reason I know about it is just because it's sort of like in the zeitgeist, I guess, of the last maybe 5-6 years of just like online people talking about cartoons they grew up with, and this was definitely a cartoon I don't think either of us grew up with.
No.
Would you agree? This was sort of like after our time. Our time was like all the classics, the sort of classic 90s, 2000s. I want to say this cartoon was maybe like mid to late teens, maybe even early teens, 2010s. I don't know the exact name of the game, but I want to say this is Steven Universe. That's the character. That's the kind of character I can see at the bottom there. I couldn't tell you what the game was. So it's a Steven Universe game, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
All right, Jay. Well, I can't remember, so let's have a look.
Oh, Battle Crashes. Okay. So maybe I was a little off, but Steven Universe is definitely on there.
Is that
that's the guy at the bottom is that, and then you've got Jake and Adventure Time. Then you've also got Mordecai. I can't remember what cartoon it is, but that's Mordecai on the left. And then I can't remember that one in the glass in the top right either. I always forget the name of these characters because I didn't grow up with them. But yeah, it's basically all the new Cartoon Network characters from the younger generation's version of Cartoon Network. So
got it, yeah. Internet required, apparently, it says at the bottom there, Jay.
What? Yeah.
I'm going to give you half a point for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And last up.
Oh, I know. Do I know this? I think, again, this might be another Cartoon Network thing.
I think you kind of do.
I want to say that character on the front is it that Treehouse? That Treehouse show where there was like 5 of them. They all had names. It was like 1 to 5. Which one am I thinking of? I can never remember the name of the bloody show. I remember watching it, but the name escapes me.
You're thinking of the right show.
Yeah, I am. I know. So again, this is probably another Cartoon Network sort of like All Stars game, or it might just be the one. Actually, no. I think the logo at the top, the yellow and black logo, is the name of the show. But for the life of me, I can't remember.
Oh, Jay, come on! You can do it. You can definitely do it.
No, it always escapes me. I've watched almost every episode of the show, but for some reason I cannot tell you what the name of the show is. It was just one of those ones I just forgot. But I gave you enough. Like, I even know that he's holding something in his right hand or something. That's like his weapon, like maybe like a laser weapon or something.
Jay, remind me, CD Projekt Red. What do their names for their games? What do you call that?
What do you mean? What does that mean? What do you mean their name for their games?
That's not what
RPGs?
the names are called. No. The names they've given to their projects. What is that?
Oh, it's code names. Damn it! It's not like
it's like, so close.
I know it's code name something because I know that each of them have a number, like 1 through 5. I'm pretty sure.
All right, I'll give you half a point. It's code name Kids Next Door.
Fucking kid! No, I couldn't know. I never got that.
I recognise.
I've seen every episode of that show. Every episode, I swear.
You never had this game because I've seen this cover.
I've seen the cover definitely, but Kids Next Door is just such a weird name to me. It just doesn't stick.
It doesn't roll off.
It doesn't have the same. Doesn't have the same thing like Dexter's Laboratory or Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's just not Johnny Bravo. It's not the same. I don't know why, but it doesn't have the same feeling. I don't know. It almost feels like that was a little later in our time frame. Like it almost came near the end. I guess. I don't know. Well, like Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo's easy,
It is easy. Jay, take us back to the normal screen, please.
Okay, we're there.
So, what have you been playing?
I finished Deathloop. I think I told you this on the last podcast. I finished it, right? Did I tell you that?
Nah. So last time you were gonna
still
play
playing
for the whole weekend.
Yeah, and then literally I want to say Monday night I platinumed it.
Awesome.
But I hadn't quite platinumed it yet. I'd platinumed it, and then Tuesday night, 24 hours later, the last achievement I needed popped because it delayed. So I had it on Monday night, but it didn't pop until Tuesday night. So
were you worried?
A little. I was like, oh crap.
I was gonna say.
A little worried, but I will say the game is pretty buggy, so it doesn't surprise me.
So okay. Well, first of all, platinum. Awesome.
Yeah,
good
platinum.
Work.
Actually, fairly easy to do too. Not that difficult.
Okay. I think Elle was thinking about doing it, but I don't know if he did.
Doable.
So, question, Jay.
Doable.
What are your thoughts on the game now you finished it and you're like a couple of weeks removed from it?
Yeah,
and you've got the
it's fantastic. It is a very well-rounded game. I think it's
So,
definitely in my top 25.
so the reviewers were right
Yeah, I think if you
ultimately.
gave it a 10 out of 10, it wouldn't anger me now. It doesn't make me go, really? It kind of makes me go, I can see that.
So does that mean that we were too reactive when that happened, do you
Yeah,
think?
I think so. I think we've grown a lot since then. Even in the last couple of months, we've grown as gamers and how we look at games now. I think we've had almost like a renaissance, an epiphany of like our opinion when it comes to like other people's opinions and emotions and feelings when it comes to games. Like me and you aren't massive fans of Zelda necessarily, or like Nintendo in general, but I can see why someone would be over the moon with any amount of Zelda news. Like I will say, the best thing about Zelda is the music. Much in the way that we're massive Final Fantasy fans and we love the music, I can see why people have this very similar um, feeling towards like we do for Final Fantasy as they would do for Zelda. Like I feel like I can relate to that more now than I probably could have last year. Like last year, I wouldn't have cared. I've been like, whatever. I feel this way. I'm more important, kind of thing. But I feel like I've grown up a little bit since then. I'm kind of like, okay, I can at least respect other people's um, ways of thinking or ways of feeling towards certain things. So just gonna put that out there, I guess. Would you say you feel the
Yeah, no,
same?
love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well succinct. I don't feel the need to add. So you love the game then? Like
Yeah, it's
you would
great. I'd recommend it
recommend.
to anybody, regardless of
Okay.
their opinion on anything. I'd be like,
And
well,
do you
if you want to
think
play a good
it's
game, play it 'cause it's very decent.
and for you, I don't know if you've played any of the others, but do you think it's Arcane's best game then?
Yeah, I'd say
Huh. All right.
so
All
far.
right.
Although
You think
I
it's
want to say it's buggy on Xbox, but not on PlayStation.
that's annoying.
And I think that's
Another.
because it's obviously just come out on Xbox, so the hardware is slightly
Oh,
different,
sure.
right? But
Sure.
they have actually updated the game. I want to say 3 or 4 times since it came out on Game Pass. And I want to say they've fixed
Okay.
most of the bugs. So
Okay,
because
that's
a lot of
good.
the time it just crashed a lot. It crashed like maybe 3 or 4 times for me over the course of 10 days. So, but it
So do
only
you think
seemed to
this is?
crash after I'd gotten so far into the game. Like I say, the first maybe 6, 7 hours I didn't have anything, and then after that it sort of got a bit crashy.
I suppose
So
that
I was
makes
like,
sense in terms of testing, wouldn't it? Like, yeah.
yeah, maybe it didn't have long enough in the oven, whatever you want to say.
So question, Jay, is this their most accessible game? Would you say for people who don't love Dishonored and things like that?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say it's fairly user friendly. Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I know the other two arcane games or other arcane IPs just seem a little too gamer-ish or a little too like niche for someone who's a bit more of a casual. If you're a casual gamer, you'll probably like this more than you would do if you weren't. Like if I'd say if you're a casual gamer, you probably wouldn't like Dishonored or Prey as much as you would Deathloop. It just has a bit more of, again, it's more of like the feeling, the vibe, the sort of overall aesthetic and just the way it plays. I feel like it's just a more fine-tuned version of the other two IPs put together, really. And Bethesda actually put out a tweet a day or two ago confirming that Deathloop was in the same universe as Dishonored. At least they didn't say anything about Prey, but I think we all know.
Putting the two together
So
there,
yeah,
right?
they're all linked, all in the same
Do you think that's
universe.
just? Do you think that's just them? They being linked is good enough, or do you genuinely think they might
No, there is a good
like
enough
put?
reason in all the games to make it believable, I guess.
Oh yeah, sure. I just meant like, do you think there's a game where they put a few characters in the same one, or like an Avengers style thing, or
No, they can't
okay,
because they all happen in different times.
okay,
And I think there actually might be they're almost like it's almost like a multiverse thing where they're not necessarily all in the same universe. They're just sort of in the same world, if that makes sense. Like
yeah.
Dishonored and Deathloop, I think, are closer than Prey is to any of the other two. They're almost like different timelines of the same world. So it's like Earth, and then you've got the Deathloop timeline, the Dishonored timeline, but they sort of converge a little bit over here somewhere,
So Jake, in
crossover.
like in a fairly summarized fashion, can you like tell me like what like, what is Deathloop in terms of? I know it's first person, you got guns and stuff, and it's like a roguelite to some extent. But like,
Yeah.
what do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like a bit of a puzzle game too. So like, what is going on here with this game?
So, have you seen the film Groundhog Day?
I have, yeah.
It's kind of like that, where you're on an island. You wake up, you have no memory of what happened to you before you woke up necessarily. Things start to trickle back, and this massive machine, this massive circular halo almost, is causing you to live the same day when you die, or regardless of what happens. At the end of the day, you just loop back round. And this woman keeps coming after you and killing you, and you have no idea who this woman is. And eventually you find out, and you kind of just your whole thing is, I just want to get off this damn island, kind of thing. So you kind of have to figure out how to do that, and that's pretty much it. Like, it's just collect weapons,
And then you got to kill all 7 targets in one day.
kill a certain amount of targets in the right order, all on the same day, while not getting killed by this woman who keeps coming after you, who randomly will spawn into your game, maybe every other day, or maybe once during the day. Just depends. Maybe twice during the same day. Just depends. Actually, I think she can only come in once, actually, so she'll almost guaranteed to come at you once at least during the day.
Does the time element not stress you out a bit?
There isn't. It's not a time element, much like a Dead Island, not a Dead Island, a Dead Rising game. The time element is just you can only kill certain people at certain times of the day. So you've got the morning, the noon, the evening, and the night, basically.
Okay.
Or I think you've got morning, noon, midday, and evening. I think is the actual thing. But you kind of have to like figure out clues for like the first 6-7 hours to then unlock the final mission, which is to then kill the people in a certain order. But you can only do that once you've then done all the other parts of the game before that. So.
And like, how much is the game taking you through this journey? Because I'm imagining
the entire way.
You're putting it all together yourself, and then like you're just doing it. But I'm imagining the game is literally like, right, you need to find this next, then you need to find this next, and
pretty
then
much. Yeah, it definitely holds your hand. Like, you almost come back to like a hub at the end of the day. So when the day starts over or ends, you go back to your hub and you look at all your investigation of like notes that you've found, and the game will then tell you, right, you need now, because you know this, you now need to do this to find out this. And then there's like 20 of those to do, and then once you've done all 20 of those storylines, you can then do the last storyline, which is to then get off the island.
Got it.
And then there's multiple endings depending on what you want to do at the end. I think there's like 3 endings, I want to say.
So, for everyone listening, spoilers for the next 5 minutes. I will put it in the timestamps.
Oh, really? You don't care about playing it?
No.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm
genuinely
surprised. The story is. So
okay.
we have 3. Well, okay, hold on a minute, Jay. Before we do this, I listen to you a lot about recommendations.
Okay.
I don't like arcane games.
Yes.
Are you genuinely saying this is going to be a Ghost of Tsushima / Final Fantasy 15 moment for me? Is that what we're saying?
It's like a step under that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play it.
So it's sort of like, I can't really compare it to anything. I don't think. It's hard to say.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. We're in the clear. Jay, please can you explain the story to me?
Your name is Cole. You are the security chief of this secret group on this island that has put together this looping system of not being able to die, basically. And there's a bunch of people just partying on this island and just basically living the best day of their lives over and over again. And there's like very clever people who have put this system together, who are basically just running experiments to see what effect this has on the planet and you and people and the human body and all that kind of stuff. And you being the chief security, you basically have to make it so that nobody can break the loop, because the way you break the loop is to kill these 7 people in a certain order. And the only people who know about this is you and maybe the chief person who came up with the idea in the first place. And it's written in this book that's in your safe in your house. And you eventually find this because you've lost your memory and you didn't realize this was a thing. And so you find out about this whole thing, and regardless of how many years you've been in this loop, and for some reason you keep losing your memory, you want to get off the island anyway because you don't want to be stuck in the loop anymore. You just want to live your life. And then you eventually find out that this woman who's following you and keeps killing you is called Juliana, and she's your daughter. Because before you got on the island, you had the kid, and I want to say the wife died after the kid was born, or like to a certain point. And then Juliana, like later on as she grew up, came to the island not realizing you were stuck in this experiment, so she then got herself stuck there. And over time, there's like a weird phenomenon that happened that as you started to forget your memory, she started to remember her as every day she died. So she now knows everything and you know nothing. And so at the end, you kind of have to make the decision to either kill her and escape the island and break the loop, or you both kill each other and just restart the loop and live your lives happily as father and daughter.
Why wouldn't you pick option 2 out of curiosity there?
Because you want to get off the island and live your life normally and not be stuck constantly.
Oh, so if you both kill each other, you're both still stuck there.
Just stuck in the loop.
You have regained your memory, or
yep, memory's still there, or maybe you lose it again. I don't know.
But you're still in the loop, basically.
Still in the loop, and you've already been there roughly 60 odd years, maybe more.
Fucking hell.
So I think the timeline is Dishonored, Deathloop, Prey.
Right. Okay.
Because at the very end, what happens is when you break the loop, the sky almost becomes this sort of like weird psychedelic orangey apocalyptic type world, and you actually realise that because you've been stuck in the loop for so long, everything outside of the island has aged and the world has basically like died and you're the only ones alive now. So the world has aged even though you've been in the loop the entire time. So now you're just woken up to an apocalyptic, dry, almost like a Mars-like planet basically, which is basically what the ending of Prey is. It's just like the end of the world.
Right, okay. This is really interesting.
So I want to say while Prey is happening, Deathloop is ending.
Okay.
And Dishonored has already happened.
By the way, I love it when someone tells me, like, you're very good at telling stories and explaining stuff.
I mean,
it's
that's
more interesting than actually experiencing it.
That's super like the main points basically. Like there's a lot of middle ground that you don't really need to know.
So I'm a bit confused about this big circle thing that's causing the loop. Is it literally
it's like
above
a giant
the
machine? It's like giant. It's like imagine an island, sort of like triangular in shape, and then up at the top of the triangle is like a mountain that holds this giant halo with like a weird bubble in the middle that just sort of emulates this weird like fuzzy sort of air pressure.
Okay.
That constantly keeps you in the loop.
Okay.
And over the course of a day, that loop sort of keeps everything. That machine sort of keeps everything in like a certain place in time, and then once the day ends, it then sucks all that air back in, and the loop begins again.
Right. Okay. And who made this machine?
I want to say it was one of the scientists that are part of this bosses that you have to kill. They sort of they figured out there was this weird thing in the middle of the ocean on this island. There was some sort of like weird energy that was emanating out of the planet, and then they harnessed that energy and turned it into this machine and made it so you could loop time. And they can also make it so you can. It's also like a clone machine too, because when you loop, a clone of you sort of exists still. If you didn't die, the clone of you still exists, so you can actually make multiples of yourself. Which is what one of the scientists did. They made multiples of themselves.
Why did they cause the loop? Like, why did they all want
I think it was like part of just like multiple experiments, or like living. They just didn't want to die, was like a part of it too. It was just like a weird sort of I want to live forever.
Right, okay.
It was like a bunch of people who wanted to live forever, and a bunch of scientists who wanted to experiment on what would happen if you did live forever, came together and went, let's have fun.
I see. Okay, and you're the chief security guy for this whole island.
So your job is to make it so the loop isn't ever broken, but you're the one guy who wants to break the loop because your memory's gone. So that's kind of like the main thing.
And your memory's gone because the loop's
you've died so many times. Yeah, you've just sort of like lost grasp of who you are. So you've lived so long that your memory's gone basically.
And then Juliana, so she's getting more memory as you die.
Kind of. They don't really explain that part very well. Okay, but at some point, she just regained her memory more than you did.
So if that's the case, why is she still killing you? if she knows who you are?
Because she doesn't want the loop to end, and I can't remember why. I think it's because she just didn't. Again, she was part of this group of not wanting to die and just living every day as if she could just have it the way she wanted to live it. I think she'd also been killing her dad for so long. She kind of like found it fun and just sort of made it part of her routine of like, oh, I love doing this.
That's so
But because
weird.
he'd never grown up knowing her, I
Right.
don't think he even knew she existed for a long time.
Oh, so it's not like he knew her mum. Like, was it like a one night stand or
I
something?
don't know. Honestly, they don't really explain. They go into that, but it's kind of you kind of have to like be in it to remember all the
Fair
details.
enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, like, but I think he did know. But then because he lost his memory, he didn't have a relationship with her anymore. So he didn't care whether or not she died or lived. Because to him, she
Right.
wasn't his daughter.
Right.
She was just a random woman killing him.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Understood.
understand? Okay.
Yeah.
There
so,
we go. Explained.
Yeah, I
To
think
be
we're
honest,
pretty
even
much
if you
there.
know all that, you can still enjoy the game.
Yeah. Sure.
You don't need to
So-
not know that to enjoy it. Because I kind of
And then
was like figuring it out anyway. I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
And then you break the loop, and then you realise that everyone else has died, basically.
Yeah, you wake up and you're sort of like in a barren world and no one's around anymore.
Jesus.
But you didn't actually know any of that until this update for the game. Because at the end of the game, you just died and then that was it. You woke up and then the ending of the original game was you woke up and you saw this sort of sky and went, oh, the loop's over. But then in this latest one, they added like an extra scene to explain, oh, this is what's actually happened to the world.
Oh,
Kind
okay.
of like they've sort of added extra stuff that sort of made it a bit more, a bit more explained.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, though. I'm going to YouTube some of that later. That sounds really cool.
I recommend. I mean, you could literally just look up all the cutscenes and then or
Yeah,
look
I
up
think I
like
might.
you could even look up like a summary of someone else explaining it. They'd probably have a better. They've probably written a script and they've probably got a better job of them doing it than I would. They probably understand
Sure.
a lot more than I do as well.
All right, spoilers over. So what else have you been playing, Jay?
Overwatch 2 is the main one. It came out 5 days ago. October 4th, the game was broken. Nobody could play it because it was a constant DDoS attack fest and everyone was trying to play it. So I literally think only like maybe 1,000 people played it on the first day. Like nobody played it because nobody could get in. It was like 60,000 people in the queue and nobody could get in. So the first night I went to go play it, waited 3 hours in queue, didn't even get to see the main screen, right? And then luckily by day 2, I managed to get in for about 2 hours and played a couple games. And then every day since then, it's gotten a lot better. I'm able to get in pretty much straight away. I can play for like a good 2 or 3 hours without a disconnect, but sometimes I'll play for an hour and it'll disconnect me 2 or 3 times. So it just sort of depends at the minute, which is very annoying because over the last 2 days, I've been disconnected 3 times in the middle of a game I'm currently winning. So I'm like, oh great. But what happened a little while ago, literally this morning, I got disconnected twice within the space of about half an hour. And because I got disconnected, it then suspended me from playing the game for an hour.
Well,
So
I thought
about
you left.
yeah,
or-
because when you disconnect from a game, it thinks you intentionally left because you were losing.
Oh God.
So the game suspended me for 10 minutes, and then I started playing a new game. I got disconnected again because their servers are buggered, right? And then it banned me. It literally banned me from playing for another hour after that. So at like 10:30 this morning, I was like, oh great, I'm not going to play for another hour now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the thing is, the game's always been like that. If you disconnect, whether it be your internet stopped working or there was like a bad, they get on their end something happened, it still punishes you for disconnecting. So let's say you disconnect maybe like 4 or 5 times in an hour, you're probably going to get banned for like 24 hours.
I mean, that's not.
So
ideal,
you
is
can't
it?
play the game because of their problem. Yeah, I know. So hopefully they fix that sooner rather than later, because it is. I could have had 3 more wins under my belt, but instead they count as losses now because I disconnected in quotes,
Jay,
Which
you
is
have
bad because
to-
I'm playing competitive. I'm playing ranked matches, so now my rank is lower because of them.
you
It's
have
kind of
to
like,
think
what the
that-
fuck?
Jay, that's a dark.
Other than that, though, the game is infinitely better than Overwatch 1, I'll tell you that right
The actual game.
now. Oh, it's phenomenal. It is amazing.
Oh, that's good.
It's gone from 6v6 to 5v5, and it just
Yeah.
feels amazing. So instead of 2 tanks, 2 supports, and 2 damage dealers. You've now got 2 damage dealers, 2 supports, and 1 tank. And it's just the games are a lot quicker. They're a lot easier to stay alive. Like you don't die constantly. Like it's a lot easier to actually have fun with the game now. It's also a lot easier for for bad teams to do slightly better than before. So I think a lot of the time, Overwatch you'll only ever win if you've got a team helping you. Like there needs to be good team synergy. And what I found is it's very 50-50. Like every other game will be good and every other game will be bad. So I'll win about the same amount of games as I lose, honestly.
I suppose a lot of those filthy casuals will leave in the next few weeks.
So. That's the thing. I've because I didn't play a lot of competitive on Overwatch 1. They've sort of put a system in place where Overwatch 2, with people who hadn't played a lot of competitive before, would be put in the very bottom tier of rank, regardless of how well they do. Which I did. I got put in bronze, and I'm now currently in silver because I'm now playing better and I'm earning my way up essentially. So
nice.
I'm hoping to get to at least a gold. That's my goal, is to get to gold.
Cool.
So I consider myself at least a gold player, at least.
All right. Well, I think it'll be one of those where the more you play it, obviously you'll be able to talk a bit more about it. But for sure, a horrendous launch. If
it was bad. A lot of apologising on Blizzard's front.
They're not doing well, are they, at the moment? They're not doing well at all.
Yeah, also the monetization with the Battle Pass, a lot of people aren't happy with. Cool. I think someone worked it out. I think it costs about 16 grand to buy everything, every cosmetic and everything. If you wanted to pay real money, you could buy everything in game for about 16 grand.
Yeah, not ideal.
So it's either play the game, and the way the amount of in-game currency they're giving out, it would take you, I think, approximately 6 to 8 months to buy 1 legendary skin. And by that point, they've probably released about 10 new legendary skins by that point. And that's not including all the new ones they added recently. So, yeah, that's not good. And the Battle Pass, the things you get from the Battle Pass aren't that great.
Okay.
I say the best thing about it is that every tier in the Battle Pass is exactly 10,000 XP to get to the next one. Because in other Battle Passes, it's the first tier will be 1,000, 2, 3, 4, and it will go up progressively higher and higher. So it gets harder to get to the end. But at least in this one, it's as easy to get from 1 to 2 as it is from 79 to 80. So that I'm happy about. And there's a lot of instances where you can get Battle Pass XP as well. There's daily missions, there's weekly missions, there's seasonal missions, and there's also lifetime missions as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to get a good amount of XP. Like you get 5,000 XP for each weekly mission you do, and 3,000 for each daily one you do. So it's a lot. I think there's 58 days left of the season. And I think maybe in the next 40 days I'll probably get to the end, I'd say. But as long as I play it every day, I should be able to get to the end.
Sounds like Halo Infinite needs to take up... Oh, do you know what? I don't even want to talk about it because the design of this multiplayer games is so bad. Sorry.
It's weird. I feel like Blizzard have nailed the half of the Battle Pass, but then completely not the other half. Like, it just doesn't feel like good enough content. Like, they need to add more...
Sure.
Just need to add better quality stuff. And they need to increase the amount of in-game currency you can get, because you can only get 60 a week, and it costs 1,900 for a legendary skin. So 60 a week.
So they basically want you to pay for it.
Yeah, you can buy it right away, but that's 1,900 divided by 60. So it would take you 32 weeks to get a legendary skin, which is how many months? 32 divided by 4. 8 months, yeah. It takes you 8 months to get legendary skin. And that's just if you want to get legendary skin. Nothing else, obviously.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
So you've almost got to play for a year just to get one. And by that point, you probably want to unlock like 10. So, they're basically saying, you're going to have to pay for it, please. So. Whereas before, you could earn that in-game currency so much. You could get it at the end of every match, whereas now you can't. You're limited to 60 a week. And that's if you can do all the weekly missions. Some of the weekly missions are really hard, and not a lot of people are going to be able to do it, especially casual players. They're not going to be able to do it. You have to be pretty dedicated. So yeah, it's good and bad. It's like 50-50 right now of like really good game, but bad of a lot of other stuff like monetization and bugginess and stuff like that. So.
Okay, well, just keep us up to date, Jay, on that. I'm sure you'll be trying to play it
every day, hopefully
in the near future.
Every day.
And today, So I'm sure we'll talk about that in the near future as well. Are you okay with moving on to Guess Who's review?
Sure. Yeah, I've got one for you.
All right.
So the score is currently 35 to 34 me.
Okay. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep, let me just quickly introduce to those who don't know. Me and Jay swaps turns each week on picking a random game review from a random media outlet, and we basically pick 3 quotes, and we've got to guess the game based on the quotes. I am ready.
I feel like you might get this one easily, but I'd rather you give me the I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm actually curious to see if you get this fairly quickly or not. Okay.
Okay.
The defensive meter is used primarily for special wake-up options, environmental interactables, and combo-breaking move called a breakaway.
Can you repeat that, please?
The defensive meter is used primarily for special wake-up options, environmental interactables, and a combo-breaking move called a breakaway. So with that, you should have enough to know what kind of game it is. You just got to pick the right one.
I actually think I'm going to find this a lot harder than you think I am.
Yeah, because you don't play these kind of games.
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it's a fighting game, but even then, I wouldn't even know when to begin. And also, I don't know what I don't know what a wake up option is. A combo breaker sounds like a fighting game.
Basic stuff too. That's funny. There is actually a fighting game glossary for like people to look at, so you can like look up all what the terms mean.
Oh, okay.
There is a lot. There's like thousands of terms, I'd say.
I bet there are.
Yeah.
So I assume it's a fighting game based on the terminology. Now we have to try and imagine what which franchise, whether it be Tekken or Street Fighter.
Well, I mean, you've literally got like 3 or 4 guesses, so you're gonna probably get it in one of them.
Yeah, but then I've got to pick which game in that franchise to get.
I mean, you can. I might give you like half a point, maybe, or like maybe one. I might deduct a point off of the 3 total or something. But if you get on the first one, I'll give you 2. If you can give me the general, one of the which series,
No. Well, I'll go specific game.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. Huh. I feel like that's too obvious for you. That's the problem. In terms of that one, but maybe you just picked one you like. I don't know. Or
I kind of just literally looked through the list and was like, "Oh, that one will do," I guess. Because they're all kind of the same, really. I mean, most fighting games are the same. They just, slight variation, different characters.
I'm gonna go Mortal Kombat X.
X. Okay, that is incorrect.
Okay.
If you want to go specific, I'd have given you 2 points. If you want to take it, the 2 points are there if you want it. But I can go to the next and you can try. I mean, if that's the thing, you can either take 2 points now, or 2 points to get it wrong on the next one. Because you've only got a couple more to choose from.
I'll gamble.
Okay. Some of these items can be played by playing through the story mode, but most are obtained through the Towers of Time and the Crypt.
Fuck. I'm gonna go Mortal Kombat 11.
That is correct. So yeah, you got 2. You got 2 regardless.
Jay, I swear to God, I wasn't gonna guess Mortal Kombat until like the last 5 seconds. I was all Tekken and Street Fighter, genuinely.
It's funny because they're actually kind of like very specific, right? The next one you probably would have got it, where I said, gloriously gracious, over the top, and often comedic violence is of its notorious fatality finishing moves. So that's very obviously Mortal Kombat, right?
Sure.
But yeah, in recent Mortal Kombat games, they've had interactable things you can do, and they had a defensive meter in 11 as well. So yeah, very specific to it. But I thought I'd give you one that was, like it's sort of globally known Mortal Kombat, so that's sort of like a middle ground, I guess. So yeah, you got that one. Nice one.
Yeah, no, fair play. Good quotes, to be fair. To be fair, I like the second one because I did know that Mortal Kombat's got a good story mode and that Tower of Terror thing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the next Guess Who's review I've got, because I've got another one as well, will be quite interesting to see if you get that one as well. So I don't think either of us have played that game yet. So.
Oh, okay, interesting.
We'll see.
To finish up today's podcast, Jay, I've got
Long
a quote.
podcast, yeah.
Time will not slow down when something unpleasant lies ahead.
Okay. What's that from?
Harry Potter. Harry Potter
okay.
4.
That definitely makes sense. Just a massive sense of urgency in their movies, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just something to reflect on. Any closing thoughts, Jay?
Oh man, these next couple of weeks. That's the thing. So we're recording this weekend. So the next time we record, I will be playing Gotham Knights.
So how do you want to do that? Do you want to do it first thing in the morning and then you can play for the rest of the day, or?
Well, it depends because we're obviously recording this on a Sunday, so it just depends whether you would do it on Saturday or Sunday. Because I'll be off regardless, right? So I can get up whenever. I mean, we could even do it during the week after, depending on.
Would you want? Do you want to delay it so until you finished it, and then we can do a big?
No.
Or
no? I mean, when I finish it, we'll talk about it at the beginning of November anyway. Because if we're recording 2 weeks from now, and then 2 weeks from that will be the beginning of November. So.
Okay.
It's whatever, really. We'll talk about it when we talk about it.
All right. Looking forward to it, dude.
And then it'll be Pokemon after that. Yeah. And then it'll be Need for Speed after that. Yeah. And then it'll be Hogwarts Legacy and Dead Island 2. I've got lots to look forward to. So I've got literally like 5 or 6 games to play over the next 3 or 4 months. It's insane.
That is insane. You're having a good
Can't
6
wait.
months.
Good time.
On the other hand, don't even
could
know if
have
I'm
stuff
buying
to
God of War
play,
yet.
but doesn't want to. You could play Gotham Knights. You like Batman?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no, you're right.
I'm sure you. Right. I mean, you're probably going to play Hogwarts Legacy, probably, right?
Yeah, no, that looks really good. I don't know if I'm going to get God of War yet. I still don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I'll probably cave and get it day one, but I don't know yet.
Well, I mean, I feel like you very rarely get day one games anyway.
That's true.
What was the last day one game you bought?
You know,
because for me, I guess recently it'll be Gotham Knights, but before that, what did I play day one?
Me and you play the same game day one.
What, recently?
Yeah, fairly.
Honestly, it's funny. I can't remember anything I've played this year. Seriously, I can't even like.
The season pass was shit.
What do you mean?
The season pass was shit that we bought for it.
Oh, Tiny Tina. Yeah, okay.
Tiny Tina.
That was the last. That was probably the last. That was in March, but that was a long time ago.
The game before that was Red Dead. No, it wasn't. It was Last of Us Part 2, and then before that was Red Dead 2.
And Assassin's Creed.
So
well, AC for me, not for you. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Good stuff.
Cool. Cheers, Jay. Good to catch up. Good chat.
Yeah, man.
I quite enjoyed that. So yeah, I'm a bit tired now, so I might go for a nap.
So next time we speak, I'll have already begun Gotham Knights.
Yeah,
I'll give you a very brief first impression. And then after that, I'll be able to give you my entire thought, because hopefully by the beginning of November, I'll have had it platinumed.
Hell yeah.
That'll be the goal, at least. It looks fairly doable.
I will hopefully have finished a couple of things by then as well, so we'll see.
Sweet.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time amidst the busy ending period of the year, where Jay's going to play a lot of games, but looking forward to it. All right, see you guys later.